All right, welcome back to Transitions with Ramzi and Claudia. I am Ramzi, still coming at you from Atlanta, although maybe today's episode will change that. Claudia, you ready for the remote revolution?
Always. Hi everyone, I'm Claudia. Ramzi, remote has become such a buzzword lately. We're hearing more and more from buyers who think they want a totally remote business, right? The dream is you're working in your pajamas in Bali, business just humming along in the background.
Yeah, or the old I want to run my company from a hammock in Costa Rica pitch. Look, I get it. Who doesn't want that? Especially compared to sitting in Atlanta traffic. But the reality when buying is it's messier than people realize.
Absolutely. So, first, what do buyers mean by completely remote? People usually point to things like SaaS businesses, digital marketing agencies, dropshipping stores, sometimes even YouTube channels or online course companies. Basically, businesses you can run with a laptop and Wi Fi.
Exactly. And on paper, these look amazing. All the revenue online, teams scattered across the globe, no warehouses or storefronts to worry about. But here's the twist, most of these so called remote businesses still have plenty of location based elements. There's no such thing as zero presence.
Yeah, like people picture this hands off gig, but the reality demands involvement. Even with dropshipping or SaaS, you need systems, oversight, sometimes actual in person stuff. The dream sometimes gets interrupted by reality.
Let me give you a real world example. I'm not making this up. A buyer of mine was convinced he'd bought a 100% remote digital marketing agency. Whole team was remote, clients all over, no office, no physical assets at all. He's already planning his Zoom from the beach life. But then, here's what he found 60% of their revenue depended on three major clients who expected quarterly face to face strategy sessions. For 5 years, the owner was literally flying all over the country every 3 months. That shocked our buyer. He thought remote meant never leaving home, but suddenly he's traveling more than before.
That happens so often. And it's not just travel. Sometimes the business heavily relies on the previous owner's personal relationships or presence. The stuff that doesn't show up in a financial statement or a fancy slide deck. Buying a business isn't just pushing buttons from afar, unfortunately.
Yeah, and building on what we talked about last episode, there's always a reality check that comes after the LOI, right? Suddenly, those completely remote stories start to unravel when you see how things really work day to day.
So let's dive into the messy stuff. There are big hidden challenges when it comes to these remote opportunities. Number one, owner dependence. Sometimes buyers get tricked because the seller is the business. All the client trust, all the vendor relationships, all the inside knowledge. It's just the owner in their head. If you can't extract that or transfer it, you're buying a headache.
Yeah, and let's not forget third party tech reliance. A so called remote company might look passive, but it's often glued together with five SaaS tools, Zapier, and the hope that none of them breaks at 2 a.m. If one vendor changes their pricing or shuts down, you've suddenly got a real problem. I mean, you're not in control of that backbone in the same way as, say, a brick and mortar operation.
And oof, the myth of passive income. I see this all the time. People think they'll just step in and money will pour in while they surf or whatever. But true passivity is, well, let's just say it almost never exists. Right, Ramzi?
Yep, and often those passive claims hide a ton of tasks handled by the owner or a trusted VA who's about to leave when the business changes hands. Let's talk red flags too, big ones. Lack of documentation for starters. If everything is in the owner's head and not on paper, you may as well buy their brain, which last I checked is not for sale.
And revenue volatility. I always say, watch out for wild swings. 1 month up, next month down. True automation and systemization would smooth that out. But if it's yo-yoing, that means something's off. Or it's very dependent on the owner pushing the right buttons on the right day.
Yeah, another one. The relationships that don't transfer. Like if all the key clients love the seller but not the service, or they interact only through a personal social media account that isn't part of the deal, you might see the revenue walk out the door day one. Claudia, I remember you had one that just totally crumbled because of this, right?
Oh, yes, this was a content business. On paper, looked amazing. Good margins, real following, but every major client was basically there for the seller's personal brand. One buyer got so excited, then realized none of the main revenue would stick around after closing. The business fell apart before they even reached the lawyer's office. It can be brutal. So if loyalty's tied to the face on the Zoom calls, not the logo, you're in a risky spot.
Yeah, if you want your remote dream to last longer than a plane ticket, you gotta dig for those red flags. Remote is not code for hands off forever, it's just different hands on.
All right, so it's not all doom and gloom. There are ways to make a remote acquisition successful, right? The pattern I see: businesses with proper documentation, clear and transferable systems, and independent teams. Every task, customer service, marketing, payroll, has a written process and someone outside the owner who knows how to handle it.
Yeah, and if that documentation doesn't exist, honestly, you probably want to build it before you buy or negotiate hard on price. Another must have is some backup infrastructure, especially with tech, redundant servers, regular data backups, even alternative vendors for fulfillment if something fails. Contingency planning is huge for remote first companies.
And during due diligence, actually test everything. Don't just watch a demo. Log into every system. Try to break things. See what happens. Also, negotiate a longer training or transition with the seller. Remote can hide surprises. Sometimes 30 days isn't near enough. Get 90 or 120 if you can swing it. Worst case, you're overshooting. Best case, you don't spend week 2 frantically Googling how the business actually runs.
Plus, look carefully at legal and tax stuff. A remote team in 5 states, 4 countries, that's a compliance headache. You want to understand what filings are needed, payroll rules, data privacy, the whole mess before you sign. It can eat up a lot of time if you miss it up front.
There's one more piece: real life examples. Ramzi, you've seen a buyer really pull this off, haven't you?
Yeah, a subscription box business, actually. It looked remote on paper, and for once it actually was, because the seller set up solid systems with a fulfillment center, documented everything, and trained a team that managed daily ops. The buyer took over, but what really helped was that they leaned into the tech, even improved the software, and automated more steps. Instead of hands off, it was hands on systems, which let them scale up without adding to the chaos.
Love it. That's what separates the dream from the nightmare: systems, people, redundancy. Basically, remote works if you are still running a business, just from anywhere with good Wi Fi, but you still have to run it.
So, as we wrap up, if you want a remote business, don't just fall for pretty headlines. Go deep on the systems, the tech, the people, and the actual work needed. Find those cracks now, not after you're untethered from your old 9 to 5.
Couldn't agree more. Let's not sugarcoat it. Remote businesses can give you freedom, but only if you put in the work up front. And if you run into a weird snag or want a reality check, you know where to find us. That's why we do this each week.
Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm Ramzi, and next episode, we're digging even deeper on transition strategies for sellers and buyers. Claudia, always a pleasure.
Always, Ramzi. Good luck wherever you're listening from, remote or not. We'll see you next time.